Dear doctor and classmates, my name is Ma Yunhai. My student number is 9077057. Today I would like to talk about my research project in the problem statement. My title is Impact of Cross-Border E-Commerce on China's Import and Export Trade in the Past Decade. My problem statement is divided into four parts: the context, issue, relevance, objective. Okay, let's look at the first part. Context, the background. Recently, the head of the Foreign Trade Department of the Ministry of Commerce of China stated that in the past 3 years of the epidemic, there have been many new changes in the international market. One important change is that more and more consumers around the world are accustomed to online shopping, and through cross-border e-commerce platforms, they can buy from all over the world without leaving their homes. At present, countries around the world are vigorously developing cross-border e-commerce. According to a report from the World Trade Organization, global B2C cross-border e-commerce will maintain a growth rate of 27% by 2026. In recent years, with the strong support of national e-commerce policies and the active promotion of industry participants, China's e-commerce industry chain has gradually improved, and the cross-border e-commerce industry has developed rapidly. The scale of cross-border e-commerce transactions in China has rapidly expanded, increasing by nearly 10 times in 5 years. In the first quarter of this year, it still maintained a high-speed growth momentum. In our country, cross-border e-commerce has developed well and is very popular among enterprises. It reduces transaction costs, helps enterprises establish their own brands and sales channels, and improves their overall competitiveness. From the perspective of cross-border e-commerce transaction scale, the scale of cross-border e-commerce transactions in China has steadily increased. In 2022, the scale of China's cross-border e-commerce market reached 15.7 trillion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 10.56%. It is expected that the transaction scale will reach 16.8 trillion yuan in 2023. And we need to know what recent research has been done on this issue. Research in the field of cross-border e-commerce is in its early stages, with most studies concentrating on its effects on import and export trade. There is a noted deficiency in research covering other crucial aspects, such as logistics policies, payment mechanisms, and product categorization, which are essential for the comprehensive development of cross-border e-commerce. The second part is issue. First of all, I need to introduce my problem. I have raised two questions. The first problem is how to evaluate the level of cross-border e-commerce. The second, what is the macro impact of cross-border e-commerce on the country's import and export? Now let's look at what we need to know about it. There's a need for a multi-indicator system that can accurately assess the development of cross-border e-commerce and its impact on import and export trade. Such a system would enable a comprehensive analysis that goes beyond cross-sectional data, facilitating longitudinal studies and cross-provincial comparisons. As we mentioned earlier, there are a lot of experts and scholars studying the development of e-commerce, but their research content is relatively simple, from a certain aspect to study the development of e-commerce. So up to now, there is still no good indicator to measure the development of e-commerce. Therefore, I will establish a system to measure the development of e-commerce. First, I need to know the data of e-commerce in most parts of China, summarize various indicator systems, incorporate these systems into the regression model, and then come up with a relatively comprehensive indicator system to measure the development of cross-border e-commerce in China. The third part is relevance, justification. The justification for the research lies in the significant growth and potential of cross-border e-commerce, its impact on the global and national economies, and the current gaps in research. Why it is important. Understanding the development and impact of cross-border e-commerce is crucial for strategic policy making, enhancing businesses' competitive edge and ensuring sustainable growth in the global trading system. Value of research. The research aims to provide a comprehensive analysis of cross-border e-commerce, contributing to the academic field and offering practical, policy-oriented recommendations to optimize the cross-border e-commerce framework. As mentioned in the background, cross-border e-commerce in the world is developing rapidly, and that in China is also developing very fast. So, there is no time to delay the research on this aspect, which can not only fill the gap in the research of cross-border e-commerce in China, but also is very important for the development of cross-border e-commerce in China. With a quantifiable standard, we can more intuitively analyze the advantages and disadvantages of China's cross-border e-commerce and then make modifications. The fourth part is objectives, about which I wish to let you know what I hope to discover or prove. The objectives are to discover, clarify, or confirm the influence of cross-border e-commerce on China's import and export sectors using a comprehensive set of e-commerce metrics and advanced econometric models. The research seeks to provide a nuanced understanding of cross-border e-commerce, fill existing literature gaps, and assist in the strategic upgrading of China's cross-border e-commerce sector. At present, research on cross-border e-commerce is in its early stages both domestically and internationally, and most of the research achievements are limited to a single level of research on cross-border e-commerce and import and export trade. This study will conduct a more comprehensive analysis and research on the current situation, impact mechanism, and impact degree of cross-border e-commerce on China's import and export trade from the macro level of countries and regions. At present, scholars usually use expert scoring to evaluate the development of cross-border e-commerce in a region or country, or a single indicator to represent cross-border e-commerce. This study will select more reasonable cross-border e-commerce indicators and introduce them into econometric analysis models to deeply explore the impact mechanism of cross-border e-commerce on import and export trade, and propose constructive suggestions to promote the development of cross-border e-commerce. Finally, summary. The document outlines the significance of cross-border e-commerce, identifies gaps in current research, and sets forth objectives aimed at enhancing understanding and providing actionable insights for the advancement of the sector. Thank you all for watching. Thank you very much. Have a good day.